So earlier this month, I had a little business trip out to the Big Apple, which served as the perfect opportunity to put the brand new iPhone 16e through its paces. I wanted to see how it would handle battery-wise and also performance-wise, camera-wise, you know, the whole deal. Today is going to be an action-packed day, in retrospect at least, and here's my room in Pod Brooklyn. It feels like felt like a prison cell, but in the best way possible. Here's the drip for the day, you know, usual stuff. And then I was on my way out, ready to take on the day. Flicked open my AirPods case, threw on some MGMT, walked down the stairs. Beautiful establishment, by the way, would come back. And what do you know? I found my buddy, Tom, from ByteReview in the lobby.
They've got Harry Potter here too.
Tom is a lot of fun, kind of out of pocket. You wouldn't expect it, and I decided to take a picture of him to remember this wonderful moment here. Here's a 1x and 2x picture for you here, 24 and 12 megapixels respectively. And then we were off to Manhattan to find a coffee shop, and here is the 16e navigating. Here's another picture. 1x, by the way, is great at 24 megapixels. That's a huge upgrade over previous gen phones. And yeah, we made our way down to a subway station here and boarded our first train of the day. Still at 100% after like 25 minutes, which is pretty impressive.
It's busy.
This was actually Tom's first time in the US and New York City, so it was really fun dragging him around and showing him the ropes with regard to the city, especially the good old subway, down to 99% after 30 minutes of non-stop navigation, by the way.
America.
Tom would not stop singing that during the duration of this trip. Down to 97%, about 45 minutes in, and we were still traversing to downtown Manhattan. Again, the battery is doing really well with this new C1 modem. I added my Capital One card so I could use it on the subway, so that's great. And finally, after a stop or two more, we got to the exit that would bring us to the street level.
Put that finger away, what the f***?
And around 8:30 or so, we found ourselves in my favorite part of the city, the financial district, simply because of all the insane gargantuan architecture. And we're down 4% from 194 after about an hour of usage, which is pretty impressive to me. And here's a little picture of my favorite buildings, World Trade Center 1 and World Trade Center 7. It doesn't get much better than this. And then we finally picked a local coffee shop that's apparently in the UK as well to grab a little nosh from before I split to go to a very important meeting in a minute or so here. And so we arrived to Blank Street Coffee.
At first I thought you said no, and I'm like, damn,
No.
like that's crazy.
I'm not buying a sorry.
I was like, that's a good one.
That's a new one.
And after that amazing interaction, I snapped another 2x photo of Tom and got my mini hot chocolate and baguette to eat. We're now down to 89%, again, about an hour and some change in, and we enjoyed our little breakfast nosh here. My hot chocolate was really good. And then it was time for me to split. Again, I had an important meeting to get to, so I used the 16e to navigate for a bit more until I got to Apple's New York City headquarters to check out the new iPad Air M3 with a new keyboard and function row, as you can see here, and new Macs like the Mac Studio with the M3 Ultra, really crazy stuff, and the new M4 MacBook Air in sky blue, my personal favorite laptop at the moment. And as you can imagine, we got some really cool real-world demos showing off how these new chips bring your Mac experience to the next level. With the MacBook Air, the M4 chip just brings it to a MacBook Pro level in a way we've never seen graphically and computationally. It's great for professional uses and also gaming, as you can see here. Overall, really great updates for the MacBook Air. And then we got a demo of the new Mac Studio, first up with the M4 Max chip, which enables, more expansion, as you can see here, PCI type accessories. And then we got this really sick VFX breakdown. I took a 48 megapixel Heath Max photo for you. Look at all the detail. And then we got to see the Mac Studio with M3 Ultra, which was running some crazy AI VFX workflow with like half a terabyte of RAM and a quarter terabyte used, and a photo of a really awesome Cyberpunk demo. And then I finally got some free range hands-on time with the new MacBook Air. So I was mostly concerned with the new colorway, the sky blue, which just looks incredible, especially when taken at 24 megapixels here. And again, I've really been enjoying the sky blue. It's been a great replacement of the long overdone space gray. It's an off silver with some subtle flair, which is great if you want something low-key to own long-term. Then I went to a different floor where Apple had this sort of creator setup situation going on for some more hands-on and some static shots, as you can see here. I also managed to get this 16E video clip of Crystal Laura and her sister working away, so shout out to them, they were really nice. And look at this beautiful little situation I managed to put together here. I had to take a Heath Max 48 megapixel photo here, and as you can see, the sharpness or resolution here is wildly good. And again, just look at this sky blue colorway. It just looks so stunning and subtle once again, which I really love. Plus, paired with the M4 chip, you really can't ask for a better laptop. And again, the iPad Air got an update with the M3 chip, plus a new keyboard, sort of like the Pros with the function row. It's nice, I will be covering it, although obviously it's nothing crazy new. And then after about an hour or two, I was back out on the streets of New York taking more photos with the 16E here, which continues to impress me. But anyway, I was supposed to rendezvous with Tom outside the World Trade Center Mall or the Oculus, and I couldn't find him because he was not in the spot he said he would be in.
What was that all about? You were supposed to be over there.
Straight past me.
You should have said something.
I think you were too far away. You're right about
You just wanted me to be a stupid American. That you just watched it in real time.
Oh, I don't have to do anything for that.
He's a cheeky fellow, isn't he? Anyway, I got a clip of the memorial. It's always beautiful to look at. And after admiring the memorial a bit more, it was time to make our way uptown to the lunch reservation we booked the day before. And look at me using my 16E to pay for my MTA fare. I'm glad I added my card earlier so I could do that and also pay for my hot chocolate and croissant. But at this point in the day, I was definitely starting to get hungry. And check it out, we have 77% remaining after about 4.5 hours of usage, which is really good considering all the cellular data I had been using this morning with Apple's new, more power efficient first-party C1 modem paired with the 3nm Gen 2 A18 chip, the same chip you can find in the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro. Anyway, enough jargon. I threw on some more MGMT and we continued our journey on the subway here. Always a vibe, always a great time when you're in the city, so much different than, you know, driving in a car every which way. And upon our ascent to the surface, that's a funny way to put it, Tom saw a street cop that I took a picture of as well at 2x, and of course I had to take more photos of the architecture, specifically the building that we were going into for lunch. And this building in question is 30 Hudson Yards, which has an insane observation deck, as you can see here. Also, if you've seen this weird pine cone looking structure, it's called the Vessel. It lives in this billionaire's playground, as they call it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Edge level 4. That's where you are all the time.
That observation deck I just showed you is called The Edge, which is why Tom was able to make that incredible joke. Anyway, we went up the elevator and to our restaurant of choice, Peak at Hudson Yards. Brought to you by MasterCard. It's a little obnoxious, but it's a great spot. And speaking of sponsors, except this one is fantastic, I have a brief message from the people that made today's video possible. DeleteMe and how to protect your personal data online. I, like many of you, had absolutely no clue just how much of my personal data is being leaked online or sold to data brokers without my knowledge, let alone my permission. And as someone with a small but not insignificant online presence, this can put me at risk of harassment, doxing, stalking, risk of identity theft, phishing scams, and more nasty safety and privacy compromising outcomes. But with DeleteMe, I can actually reclaim a lot of leverage or control over how my personal details are passed around or posted on the internet. For starters, it's super simple to sign up with them and set up a profile on their website. Once I had access to my dashboard, within roughly 5 minutes or less, I was able to punch in all the important information I want protected and authorize DeleteMe's team to scrub the web for loose addresses, phone, tax-related, and other personal identification numbers, email addresses, credit card numbers, and God knows what else from data leaks, those pesky data brokerage sites, and other search engine or white pages style results. After signing up and activating my DeleteMe service about 2 months ago, I just recently received my first privacy report after weeks of having them search and scrub the web. The report shows I've had 480 online listings reviewed, 52 of them removed, and 325 instances of personal identifiable information found. Apparently, this searching and scrubbing would have taken me a total of 7.5 hours, but honestly, it probably would have taken me longer going through all of these seemingly endless data brokerage sites that they've listed here. Really impressive stuff. In short, DeleteMe makes this impossible task of requesting and potentially forcing these many third parties in question to relinquish your data without needing to put in the insane amount of man hours to do so or have the technical or legal know-how to accomplish all this either. So what are you waiting for? Protect your personal data today and try DeleteMe with my link, joindeleteme.com/Noah down below. You can get 20% off your consumer plan with my code Noah at checkout. But anyway, we made our way up 30 Hudson Yards to this really sick elevator sequence, and we got sat at our table near the window. It's just such a beautiful view, especially for someone who's never been to the city before. If you've been keeping up with me over the past few years, you know I've been here a few times simply because the view itself is worth 50 bucks, which makes the expensive food that includes it a little more reasonable. I then got my mixed drink, which of course I had to take a photo of at 1x and 24 megapixels. I then got a salad that was enough to feed like 7 horses and maybe a goat, which left me little room for my amazing brisket burger and fries that followed. And while I was making a modest effort to finish my food, Tom absolutely demolished his burger in record time. He out-Americaned me. And again, the view was just gorgeous. I had to take another picture here while I was right up against the window. So here's a 1x photo of middle and southern Manhattan. You can see the World Trade Center over there. Anyway, we wrapped up our meal and then I calculated what Tom owed me because I wanted to put the entire bill on my card for points. We then unfortunately learned that the outdoor observation deck was closed due to high winds, but we were still able to enjoy the view and take some more photos before heading back down to street level. After lunch, we decided to head back to the hotel room so we could rest up a bit and also rendezvous with another creator coming to town. Maybe you have a guess as to who that is. Taking this really steep escalator down is always fun too. I also had to throw on some brat during our subway ride back, and we're down to 59% after a little over 7 hours of usage, which is again really impressive, just like this guy dancing with himself, which I managed to grab a clip of. What's less impressive is my ability to navigate New York City after about a dozen or so times of visiting here over the past 3-4 years. Every single trip that I make out here, there's at least one subway ride or whatever that goes horribly wrong because I miss like a train change or something that just brings me to the complete wrong place. We were not supposed to go above ground. Luckily, Tom did not seem to mind. He took the opportunity to take some photos of the Brooklyn Bridge, even though we had to head back to Manhattan to get back to Brooklyn. It was a whole mess. And we're down to 55% after about 7.5 hours of usage. Not shabby at all. This phone continues to impress me in the battery life department. I scrolled through some Twitter while I had a second of cellular connectivity in the subway. It's a little shoddy. I hope it gets better as time goes on. Threw on some Lady Gaga as well. And after a few stops and Tom navigating because I could not be trusted after that mishap, we finally were back in Brooklyn and on our way back to the hotel. And upon our arrival, I was so relieved because we had been out for like 8+ hours at this point, so I needed some time by myself to scroll through TikTok and relax. Meanwhile, the 16E is down to 49% and 45% respectively after being on and used for the past 8.5 to 9 hours, which is nuts. And after relaxing a bit, I had to throw on my brat tee and I went back to the hotel lobby to rendezvous with Tom and the other creator we had been expecting.
Who's this guy? Am I supposed to act?
That last clip was Isaac and Tom actually meeting each other for the first time in person, which was pretty special. It was so nice being all in the same place at the same time for once.
I got that.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to know both Isaac and Tom over the past few years through work, so to speak. This trip was also my first opportunity to meet Tom in person. I also hadn't seen Isaac in person for like 2 years, so it's a really rare treat to just hang out in person like normal people for once. And 10 hours into our day here, we're down to 40%, which is just incredible. Soon after, our lives were low-key threatened in this subway car. Both of them can attest to this. And then we were back out in the rain. Isaac was really thrilled that I had my camera out during this, as you can tell. But honestly, it was a vibe, you know, rain, sleet, or snow in New York City is always an experience, and we made our way into this Japanese market that Isaac recommended. It was fun just to hang out there and walk around and check out all of the different foods and drinks that are legitimately Japanese, like imported to the States. They're a little more expensive, but well worth it. I ended up getting some hard seltzer situation, and then we continued to just look around the store at what might be good to snack on or eat. There were so many things to choose from, even though I ended up buying like cookies cookies or crackers or something. Then Isaac rudely decided to pay and ruin the continuity in my 16E day in the life here. I was supposed to pay with my phone, but no, that was very kind of him. I enjoyed my seltzer. It was all right, you know, nothing crazy, but it was just nice to sit and talk and just sort of talk about our experiences in the city and just our reactions to the Apple event as well and what Apple released. So always good to actually have an in-person conversation about that. I then wanted to test out the front camera on the 16E and took this magnificent specimen of a selfie here. And then I was able to get my first low light shot of the day of these Japanese light lantern things outside. We then wandered around this Japanese marketplace a bit more, only to realize that it was kind of closing up for the night. So we decided to call it and just book a reservation at Parm in the financial district. And because of the rain and just how awful of an experience it was getting to this market, we decided to split an Uber, which really was not a bad deal at all. It was also nice to just get off our feet for a minute because at this point during the day, we had been up and at it for almost 12 hours, which is crazy. But what's crazier is that the iPhone 16e was still holding up battery-wise with enough left at this point for a few more hours of usage, which again, as I continue to say, is wildly impressive. We then exited our Uber to then walk to the Parm in the financial district on Vesey Street, I believe, and it was absolutely packed, so I'm glad that we made a reservation beforehand. This restaurant is actually owned by the same people that run Carbone, so the food is really, really good and not outrageously expensive or out of reach because Carbone's reservations are apparently impossible to get. We first ordered some mozzarella sticks for the table, which were really tasty. And then, of course, we ordered our respective entrees. I actually got two. I got their famous rigatoni carbone and this plain old spaghetti and meatballs, both of which were excellent, by the way. Although I remember I wanted my rigatoni noodles a little softer, but who am I? I'm not the critic from Ratatouille or whatever. And after this exquisite meal, we decided to head out and make our way back to Brooklyn to call it a night. And of course, it was still pouring out, but I was just happy to be there, honestly. You know, great company always supersedes any annoying aspect of the weather or how the day is going. I mean, if you don't enjoy the people, what's the point of going out anyway? We then got back on the subway. I was getting some Instagram time in. Isaac and Tom chatted some more, down to 28%, almost 14 hours into our long day here. I'm going to say it again, this phone is really impressing me battery life-wise, and I'm not surprised because both the CPU and modem are made by Apple and super efficient. So much so that if I wanted to split off from the pack here and just go do my own thing, I could have and still had battery life left over, which is great for you people that don't charge your phones, but also for people who just have like battery anxiety and want to make sure their phone is always charged and ready to go for safety reasons and just, you know, life in general. Nobody wants a dead phone, you know? And as you can see, we made an obligatory stop to a bodega or market for some late night snacks and drinks for our rooms. Leave a comment if you also love spending $4 on a bottle of water. But anyway, we finally made it back to the hotel after a long day of being out for nearly 14.5 hours. And what's my battery life? 28%. I only lost 2/3 of my battery life over the course of this super long, busy day. So really impressive battery life figures here. I don't know what this, you know, translates to scientifically, but I mean, yeah, you can expect this phone to get you through really tough days like this. Lots of cellular data with that C1 modem. But the day was not quite over yet. I took a little 30-minute nap and then decided to get on TikTok before really calling it a night here, which brought me down to 18% at around midnight. So 16.5 hours of on and off usage minus my 30-minute nap. And again, thanks to DeleteMe for sponsoring this video. It's definitely a great idea to get a head start on scrubbing the web of your personal details. My link is below if you're interested. And again, you can get 20% off your consumer plan with code NOAH at checkout. But anyway, after nearly a 17-hour-long day, it was finally time to put myself and the iPhone 16e to bed for the night. Good night, New York, and good night, iPhone 16e.